Welcome back, Patriots. And if you're joining us for the first time, I'm Martin Moyer, president of Christian Action Network. And this is Shout Out Patriots, where we call out the crazy, expose the evil, and fight for faith, family, and freedom. Now, today's episode is going to take you deep, deeper than most dare to go. You've likely heard about AI scammers targeting grandma, but what you haven't heard is how online predators are weaponizing that same technology to exploit and destroy our children. We're launching our Stop Scams campaign, and I'm about to tell you a story that will shake you, because what's happening isn't just fraud, it's demonic. And it's time we drag this darkness into the light. Now, if you thought voice cloning scammers were bad, wait until you hear what's next. As we roll out Christian Action Network's Stop Scams campaign, I want to show you just how deep this rabbit hole goes. Just this week, I received an urgent email from my longtime friend and protege, Ryan Morrow. You may know him from Fox News or his national security work with the Clarion Project. Ryan is deeply involved with law enforcement and counterterrorism circles, and what he shared confirms everything we've been warning about. He told me about Group 764. This is an online cult rooted in Nazism and Satanism, and law enforcement now considers it the #1 domestic terrorist and criminal threat in the country. Their hatred of Christianity is off the charts. But more horrifying is their obsession with targeting children and not just scamming them, but abusing, grooming, and sexually exploiting them. They steal their money and force many of these youngsters into suicide. And listen to this. Ryan said, law enforcement is overwhelmed and afraid. Afraid. The tools these people are using, AI, anonymity, encrypted channels, make it nearly impossible for traditional law enforcement to keep up. That's why our Stop Scams campaign isn't just about consumer fraud, it's about saving lives. We're calling for the creation of a federal anti-scam bureau, because pulling agents off murder investigations to go hunt digital predators isn't a strategy. It's a surrender. These are ScamMonsters and digital age demons. And when Satanism, Nazism, and child exploitation unite online, you better believe it's not just a cybercrime problem. It's spiritual warfare. Ryan also proposed something I think is worth pursuing, a film project to expose Group 764 and everything they stand for. And you know what? I'm leaning toward yes, because if we don't have the courage to drag this darkness into the light, who will? We're already out in front with this campaign, and we're only just getting started. So I'm asking you to share this episode with your friends, visit our website at christianaction.org, and take our Stop Scams survey to support our work. Let's turn the heat up. Let's put these monsters on notice. All right, Patriots, here's something to chew on. If you or I so much as sneezed in the wrong direction of a Democrat, we'd be thrown in a federal holding cell before you could say deep state. But over the weekend, a group of protesters in Wichita, Kansas, clogged downtown sidewalks, chanting violent anti-Trump slogans, including one holding a prop of Trump with arrows shot throughout his entire body. And guess how many arrests were made? 0. Nada. Not a single one. Now, let's be real. These aren't peaceful protesters handing out flyers. These are angry radicals fantasizing about the murder of a president of the United States. And yet law enforcement stood by, hands in their pockets. Stacey Rogers, who's running for governor in Kansas, called it out. There is no excuse for this. It is gross and heinous. She's right. But where's the FBI? Where are the riot squads? Where are the midnight arrests like we saw after January 6th? Let's not forget, President Trump has already survived at least 2 assassination attempts. The most recent nearly took his life in Pennsylvania, and yet the left still fans the flames of hatred. These calls to murder Trump aren't just political puffery. They're marching orders in disguise, and the left knows it. Patriots, this next segment hits close to home. Imagine your sweet grandmother getting a phone call. It's her grandson, panicked, crying, saying he's in jail and needs money. She rushes to help. But guess what? It's not her grandson. It's a synthetic AI-generated voice ripped straight from TikTok. crafted by a heartless criminal halfway across the world. These are no longer your average scam calls. We're talking high-tech theft using artificial intelligence to clone voices, spoof phone numbers, and con elderly Americans, robbing them of their savings, their dignity, and their trust. And folks, it's happening everywhere. Just last week, police on Long Island sounded the alarm. Over $126 million was stolen from senior citizens in Nassau and Suffolk counties last year alone. Scammers are targeting our most vulnerable, the elderly, with the cruelest deception imaginable. And the tools? TikTok, AI, deepfakes. This is the new battleground. And let's be blunt, Washington's not stepping up. Big tech's not cleaning up. That's why the Christian Action Network is launching its Stop Scams campaign. Remember to take our Stop Scams survey at christianaction.org. We're demanding action, harsher penalties for scammers, state alerts for seniors, and a new federal anti-scam bureau to shut down these AI-driven con artists. Because if the government won't protect Grandma, we will. Now, let's take a trip to the D.C. swamp. This story is deep and disgusting. Last week, Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana grilled Secretary of Energy Chris Wright, and what they uncovered should leave every taxpayer in this country absolutely livid. During the final 76 days of the Biden presidency, after Trump was elected but before Biden left office, the Department of Energy flushed out $93 billion in loans and commitments. That's more than double the amount spent in the previous 15 years combined. And who got this money? Get this. Companies with no business plan, no financial records, and no proof they could even stay afloat. It was a feeding frenzy, a taxpayer-funded free-for-all. Senator Kennedy nailed it when he asked, how do you vet and do due diligence on a loan in 76 days? One loan, much less $93 billion. Well, here's an obvious spoiler alert. You don't. And according to Secretary Wright himself, it was obvious that due diligence had never been done. Let me put it plainly. Biden's Department of Energy treated your tax dollars like monopoly money, handing out billions to whoever was lined up at the trough before the lights went out. No accountability, no oversight, just one final heist before leaving town. And now, of course, the Democrats are shrieking because President Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, yes, Doge, is pulling back the curtain. They're exposing the waste, the fraud, the abuse, and oh boy, the left doesn't like sunlight. So let's be clear, this wasn't just a case of incompetence. This was corruption, plain and simple. And you, the American taxpayer, were the one left holding the bill. This is precisely why we fight. This is why we shout out. And this is why we need people like Senator Kennedy with a backbone and a bullhorn holding the swamp accountable. Remember when the media used to stand with Israel? You know, back when they actually cared about facts, common sense, and reality? Well, that ship has sailed. Today's media isn't just neutral on Israel. They've gone full activist, pushing radical propaganda that reads like it was cribbed straight from a Hamas press release. And here's the smoking gun, NBC News. NBC ran a headline, on social media no less, saying 14,000 babies could die in Gaza within 48 hours if Israel didn't let more aid trucks in. That's not just irresponsible. That's blood libel dressed in corporate branding. And worse, it wasn't even true. The United Nations later had to walk it back, clarifying that these babies were suffering from malnutrition, not about to drop dead in the next 48 hours. But hey, why let the facts get in the way of a good anti-Israel narrative, right? NBC quietly updated their post, but with no apology, no retraction. It was just a little digital mop-up after the outrage started boiling over online. Meanwhile, the damage had already been done. That headline traveled the world, painted Israel as baby killers, and poisoned the conversation with pure misinformation. And here's where it gets dark, really dark. That inflammatory post dropped just one day before a radical named Elias Rodriguez gunned down 2 Israeli diplomats in Washington, D.C., yes, on American soil. He reportedly screamed, "Free, free Palestine," as he was taken away in handcuffs. Now ask yourself, what role did that media narrative play when major outlets push unverified claims that Israel is killing babies? What do you think happens? This wasn't journalism. This was incitement with a press pass. For decades, the media stood shoulder to shoulder with Israel, our ally, our friend, the lone democracy in the Middle East. But now, they're practically cheerleading for terror groups, broadcasting twisted headlines that sound more like medieval blood libel than modern reporting. All right, patriots, let's talk about California, America's leading exporter of bad ideas. This week, Governor Gavin Newsom got hit with a wake-up call when Senate Republicans pulled the plug on his latest pipe dream of trying to mandate a total ban on gas-powered vehicles by 2035. Yeah, you heard that right. In 10 years, the state made famous for defending a woman's right to choose will allow her to choose an abortion, but not the right to choose a gas-powered car to arrive there. Because apparently, freedom in California means you're free to choose, as long as you choose exactly what Gavin Newsom tells you to. But the U.S. Senate said, "Not so fast, Governor Hairgel." In a bold move, Republicans voted 51-44 to roll back EPA waivers issued under the Biden administration that granted California special permission to impose its own stringent emissions standards. The House has already passed the resolution, so it's now heading straight to Trump's desk for what we can all assume will be a signature delivered with a smile. You can imagine how that went over with the left. Newsom immediately started shouting from his Sacramento soapbox, promising to sue. But let's get serious for a second. This isn't just about cars or climate. It's about freedom, plain and simple. It's about politicians thinking they have the right to micromanage your everyday choices. It's about elites like Gavin Newsom believing they know what's best for everyone, especially regular folks whose lifestyles they neither understand nor respect. So here's a message to California and its electric car tyrants. If you want an electric vehicle, God bless you. Go buy one. But don't force your green dream onto hardworking Americans who rely on gas-powered cars and trucks to make a living, feed their families, and yes, enjoy the freedom that comes with hitting the open road. Thank you for joining me today. If this episode stirred something in you, share it. And remember, don't let evil ScamMonsters operate in the dark. Visit ChristianAction.org. Take the Stop Scam survey and support our work. Until next time, stay bold, stay faithful, and keep shouting out your patriotism. We've got a country to save.